Hillary Clinton, of course, is the original election denier. I'm sure you voted for her in 2016.
Well, she's not an election denier.
She absolutely was the OG election denier.
First of all, she came out before the sun had risen to concede the election to Trump.
And then spent the next 4 years saying he was illegitimate. He was an illegitimate president.
Okay, well, first of all, she didn't say he was an illegitimate.
Yes, she did.
You tell me exactly what she said.
She said those exact words repeatedly.
I believe he knows.
There are days when Hillary seems like a sensible Midwestern Methodist who grew up Republican in a suburb outside Chicago. That's the biographically accurate Hillary Clinton. But it's hardly the only Hillary Clinton. During the years she spent in Arkansas, for example, Hillary often played the loyal daughter of the American South, a Southern fried Dixie lady with a spunky feminist twist. That was the character she was portraying when we first met her 30 years ago this month. It was during the 1992 presidential primaries. Listen to her accent here.
You know, I'm not sitting here as some little woman standing by my man like Tammy Wynette. I'm sitting here because I love him and I respect him and I honor what he's been.
This wasn't just criticism. It was political demolition in high definition. Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson didn't hold back. They came in swinging, like seasoned prize fighters with the energy of stand-up comics on espresso. Hillary Clinton's carefully built image was shattered, looking like a piñata after a kid's birthday party. Scattered, dented, and missing all the good candy. It's the kind of political takedown you don't just watch. You replay it like a championship knockout.
This woman should be in jail. Literally, Hillary Clinton should be behind bars. And so should the people who worked for her who did this. This is so blatantly corrupt. She wanted to distract from her email scandal. She cooked up a plan to accuse Trump of being a Russian agent in order to distract from her.
Attention, that just happened to Hillary Clinton. She's got a brand new job. Who would hire Hillary Clinton? Honestly, well, Columbia University would. Columbia University has now made Hillary Clinton a presidential fellow and, quote, professor of international relations. Now, what does Hillary Clinton know about international relations that qualifies her to be professor of it at an august Ivy League university or crypto Ivy League university? Well, unlike most professors at Columbia, she destroyed an entire country, a whole country. She wrecked the nation of Libya, which is a real country in North Africa. She killed the guy who ran it for no reason whatsoever. Now they have slave markets in downtown Tripoli.
If you're enjoying this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. Hillary Clinton's political career has always been like a never-ending soap opera, one that refuses to get canceled, no matter how many seasons the audience begs the network to pull the plug. Each chapter is filled with recycled storylines, emails, questionable foreign deals, speeches worth more than some country's GDP. And yet, she always acts surprised when people bring them up. It's as if the entire political stage exists just for her next comeback tour, complete with the same talking points she's been repeating since the 90s.
Hillary Clinton decided to drop an op-ed in the New York Times today that's entitled, "How much dumber will this get?" And she uses Signalgate and the messaging by Pete Hegseth and Mike Walls and JD Vance and Tulsi and others on there as the jumping off point to talk about how dumb the Trump administration.
Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson aren't the type to let that slide. Together, they're turning Hillary's polished image into confetti, peeling back every layer of spin until it's nothing but a collection of half-baked justifications. They begin with her State Department era, a tenure that can only be called a masterclass in public service theater. Plenty of applause lines, but behind the curtain, chaos that belongs in a political blooper reel.
There she puts out this tweet, and it's a picture of her, a much younger Hillary, and the caption on the hat reads, "But her emails." And she writes in her tweet, "Bringing this back in light of recent news. Get a limited edition But Her Emails hat and support Onward Together groups working to strengthen our democracy."
You're running this company, you get attacked in public, you become a prop in the Hillary Clinton campaign. The media, as always, on cue, aligns their coverage with her propaganda priorities. They're sort of a seamless unit, the Hillary campaign, CBS News, NBC, Shep Smith. But your job at that point is to sort of bow your head and say, busted.
Take Libya, for example, sold to the public as a grand humanitarian mission. In reality, it turned into a geopolitical mess that made the region less stable than a folding chair on an uneven patio. The moment the cameras turned off, the so-called strategy unraveled faster than a cheap knockoff handbag. And when it was time to take responsibility for the fallout, she pivoted so quickly it could have given the entire press corps whiplash.
Mrs. Clinton, when she mentioned a phrase about you, I don't want to repeat it.
Oh, you're not going to hurt my feelings, don't worry.
She called this gentleman, this honorable gentleman, that he is playing the role of a... You say it.
I didn't see it.
What does that tell you about Tucker Carlson and right-wing media and also Vladimir Putin?
Well, it shows me what I think we've all known. He's what's called a useful idiot.
She said the useful idiot. You didn't.
She's a child. I don't listen to her.
No.
How's Libya doing?
No.
Then there's the Clinton Foundation, a charitable venture that somehow operated like a revolving door for foreign donations, timed perfectly when she had political influence to sell. The timing of those contributions was so flawless it could have been choreographed by a Broadway producer. Of course, every check came with a smile, a handshake, and no acknowledgement that anyone might see a problem with it. Because in Clinton world, any criticism is just a misunderstanding, not a flashing neon sign that says conflict of interest.
What role did Hillary Clinton, then Hillary Rodham, play in Watergate?
Well, there's a book. The book is called The Crime Without Honor, The Crimes of Camelot and the Fall of Richard Nixon, written in the 1990s by the former chief counsel of the House Judiciary Committee. And he describes terrible things about Hillary.
Megyn Kelly isn't holding back on their personal brands either. Hillary's political persona is so carefully crafted, it's practically a museum exhibit, one where the plaques leave out the most interesting facts. The woman who once claimed to be a champion for everyday Americans kept finding herself in the company of billionaires, sipping champagne while discussing how to connect with the working class. That's like holding a vegan cooking class inside a steakhouse. It just doesn't land. Her 2016 campaign was another episode worth dissecting, a perfect storm of overconfidence and tone-deaf strategy. Instead of visiting states that actually decided the election, she poured resources into places she thought were already in the bag. The infamous email scandal is where Tucker really digs in, pointing out that for someone with decades of political experience, she created a digital security disaster that would make a teenager's hacked social media account look sophisticated.
She calls the Trump administration hypocritical, dangerous, and dumb over this story. It's not the hypocrisy that bothers me, it's the stupidity. We're all shocked that President Trump and his team don't actually care about protecting classified information or federal record retention laws. I mean, this is so rich, given her history. What's much worse is that top Trump administration officials put our troops in jeopardy by sharing military plans on a commercial messaging app and unwittingly invited a journalist into the chat. That's dangerous.
Her defense was always some version of "it wasn't that bad," which is the political equivalent of saying the Titanic didn't sink that much. It wasn't just about the emails, it was about the pattern, the constant bending of the rules until they looked like pretzels. Megyn sharpens the blade on the double standards, pointing out how the same media that would have roasted any other politician for similar mistakes treated her like a misunderstood genius. The coverage was so lopsided, you'd think the press was auditioning to be her personal PR team. Every scandal was just a moment to move on from, and every questionable decision was spun into a bold move that the rest of us simply couldn't understand. Then there's her uncanny ability to blame everyone and everything except herself. It's the kind of logic that would make losing a chess game and blaming the pieces seem reasonable.
Scandal. She made up a scandal about Trump being a Russian asset. And they banked on the intel agencies working with her to perpetuate this lie, and it appears they were only too happy to assist. That's what this scandal's about. Pieces of it we knew. New pieces are coming in by the day thanks to these declassifications. And it's...
Her foreign policy record, beyond Libya, isn't exactly safe from the roast either. Arms deals approved under her watch have a strange habit of lining up with donations to the Clinton Foundation. Pure coincidence, of course. At least, that's the story. But when the coincidences start stacking up like a Jenga tower, it's only a matter of time before the whole thing collapses under its own weight. Megyn targets her speaking fees, which could have funded entire community projects, but instead went toward 45-minute lectures to banks and corporations about leadership. The irony of charging hundreds of thousands of dollars to talk about economic inequality was apparently lost on her, much like the irony of claiming transparency while running one of the most secretive political operations of the modern era. Megyn sharpens her focus on her campaign style. Every public appearance staged like a carefully lit photo shoot, every handshake vetted, every interaction measured. It's politics by marketing, where the goal isn't connection but control. And yet, for all the image management, she still couldn't shake the perception that she was more invested in her own legacy than actually listening to voters.
Doing that, not only did they not dismiss the bullshit coming into them from Hillary's operatives, but they doubled down and they opened up an investigation into Trump and his campaign and started arresting people and using the Hillary-generated information like the Steele dossier and more. You know, you heard Erin Mate explain she had this CrowdStrike group that suggested it was the Russians who had hacked the DNC. They took that hook, line, and sinker, and so on. So this shit's crazy.
Hillary Clinton comes across as someone who's always been convinced of her political destiny, as if the presidency was her birthright, handed down like a crown of political royalty. That sense of entitlement, combined with her smug certainty, became her greatest liability, alienating voters who were searching for authenticity, not someone who felt the position was owed to them. By the time she realized the race wasn't going according to plan, it was too late. Her campaign was already unraveling. Her post-2016 tour of excuses only made things worse. Book deals, speaking tours, and interviews all aimed at reshaping the narrative, conveniently leaving out her biggest mistakes. It wasn't about reflecting on what went wrong. It was about repackaging failure as misunderstood brilliance. Despite positioning herself as a fighter for the people, her policies often left the base underwhelmed and dissatisfied.
Hillary Clinton like. You're probably the only person in this room who would know.
It wouldn't surprise you to know that she's not too fond of me.
She hates you like the devil hates holy water.
So, when I resigned as vice chair of the DNC in 2016, specifically so that I could campaign against Hillary Clinton in that Democratic...
But when it came time to act, her decisions strangely aligned with the interests of the political elite. Tucker didn't just attack her political failures. He pointed out the tone, the calculated pauses, the way she delivers lines like a lawyer reading a contract. Every word feels rehearsed, every gesture staged. In a world starving for authenticity, her approach is like serving instant coffee at a gourmet event. Technically functional, but deeply unsatisfying. The roast doesn't slow down as it moves into the present. Every time there's speculation about her running again, the collective groan from the public could register on the REOR scale. And yet, she seems to thrive on the attention, as if the constant "will she or won't she" chatter is enough to keep her relevant.
Think of Hillary Clinton as America's national tattoo remover. She alone can erase the stain of our youthful bad judgment. God bless that woman. But wait a second, you say. Hillary can't win. She's yesterday's candidate. This country's got a short attention span. We want the new thing. And Hillary Clinton isn't new. She's been around forever.
Tucker treats her legacy like a case study in political hubris. It's a story of ambition unchecked by self-awareness, of a career so consumed by the pursuit of power that the true purpose of holding it got lost along the way. It's about someone who had every advantage, connections, resources, a platform built over decades, and still managed to trip over the basics of connecting with the people she wanted to lead. And just when you think the roast is winding down, they circle back to the contradictions. How someone can be both hyper-calculated and astonishingly careless, both deeply experienced and repeatedly tone-deaf. The takedown leaves no part of her political history untouched. From her earliest days as First Lady to her more recent attempts to shape the Democratic Party's direction, each era comes with its own set of blunders, misreads, and half measures, all packaged with the same unwavering confidence.
And this is a document produced with federal money?
Oh, absolutely, without question. I don't know that they paid them, but Hillary's trips back and all the communications.
But it's part of it. It's part of it, the judicial system. It's part of our justice system.
Well, yes, but this is the impeachment inquiry by the House.
Of course, but so this is not some freelance project.
Oh no. This is
but they suppress it.
Surely, and it never comes up. We decided it wouldn't be helpful for them to see this stuff. That's what Rodino.
And the best part? The roast isn't over, because as long as Hillary Clinton keeps showing up in the headlines, Megyn Kelly will have plenty of material. Every speech, every interview, every attempt to rebrand is just another scene in the never-ending saga. A saga that, judging by the past few decades, shows no signs of fading quietly into history. Hillary's political resume may be long, but it's also filled with more red flags than a bullfighting arena. Every so-called achievement comes with an asterisk the size of a campaign.
Stole his first term as president. These absolute liars who run around trying to act like they're the protectors of democracy completely ruined it, tried to undermine it at every turn and at the highest levels with lies, with out-and-out lies that were really serious, and changed foreign policy and changed the course of history in this country in Trump's presidency. And there must be accountability. There has to be actual criminal accountability for those who lied. And I can't wait to see this.